Hello chess fans, today I want to share with you what I believe to be the trickiest Sicilian and one that can be played at all levels to really good results. So the Sicilian obviously starts after e4, c5, knight f3. And what I'm going to recommend here is that you play e6. And this is one of the tricky Sicilians that I feel is very good to start out with because it's very simple and off the bat you are going to be winning a lot of games and getting a lot of positions in the same trap. So the trap basically goes with d4, c takes, knight takes. This is going to happen in the large percentage of your games because of the fact that the open Sicilian is the most common. At the beginner level, you might see moves like bishop c4, which don't really make a lot of sense here because we already placed the pawn on e6. So on bishop c4, you can simply answer with d5. And then here you would be significantly better. So this is the open Sicilian. And here the move you're going to play is knight c6, just developing. One thing to note about the Sicilian is that you kind of have a development advantage usually because white had to spend a move to play d4 and knight takes d4. Knight c3, and here you're going to play knight f6. Now this is what's called the 4-knight Sicilian, but also is an extremely tricky weapon at the beginner level. And that's because what's going to happen here is we're going to go play bishop b4, and we're going to have ideas of knight takes e4, d5, queen a5, all revolving around the central light squares in the center. And even though our bishop is not there, all our other pieces are going to be maximized on those squares. So here what I see a lot at the beginner level, and even a few weeks ago I played like a 2,200 rated player who played bishop b3, which is actually, as you can see by the engine, already a mistake. After bishop b4, what we're doing is we're attacking this knight, which is defending the pawn. So therefore, if we take the pawn, the knight can't take back. And so here, what white has to do pretty much is defend the pawn. And bishop d3 is the best way to do so. But a common trap is with f3. And actually, after f3, which is looking like the English attack, because if we flip the board for 1 second, this looks like a normal English attack setup after queen d2 and castles. But you simply can't play the English attack here because of the fact that we have d5 and all our pieces are perfectly coordinated to get it off. And one of my games went queen d2, e5, knight takes, e takes, c takes, a3, bishop e7. And here black was already pretty much winning with the threat of going here, complete control of the center. The pawn on f3 makes absolutely no sense. So white really should go bishop d3. And here what you can do is play d5 again. And after this sort of position happens, you can go for these complications, or you can just play it simple, play knight d7. Here, black has to be better in all situations because of the fact that I have more center, and also both my pieces are pretty good. Like, both of these pieces are pretty good. This bishop can come out in the future probably with being traded by a5 and bishop a6, and the engine already likes this position for black. Or you can go for the complications and play d4 here, and after these complications, black emerges basically with a completely winning position. White's king and pieces are all horrible. We're going to castle here, play e5, play f5 possibly, bring the bishop out, and here black would be completely winning. So that's basically the main trap with this opening. And keep in mind that if white doesn't defend the pawn with like queen e2, we're just going to take here, and this has also happened in a ton of beginner games. Now white doesn't just have those options. They don't just have to go bishop e3 or bishop e2 and allow this bishop e4 move. One of the most popular moves is knight takes here. But after b takes, if your opponent plays bishop d3, d5 gets into a similar situation, and here black can be considered slightly better or at least equal because they have more of the center. But the main move would be e5, and after knight d5 takes is another thing I see commonly in the beginner level. And here black again would be slightly better with more control of the center, and so if you can get more control of the center in the opening, obviously that's good. And a real pro basically would play knight e4, aiming for the d6 square, and also aiming for c4. But I highly doubt that any of your opponents will know this, and this is not even that bad for black in the first place because I think Nihal Sarin played this against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. So now the most common move in the master database, which you're probably not going to see, is knight bd5. And against this, we're going to go bishop b4, which is a very tricky move. And the first time I saw this, if we're looking at it from white's perspective, black's best piece should be their bishop, right? So why don't I just go here, check, and then my opponent has to take, and I take back with the queen? It looks winning. But here we play the stunning move as black, king e7. I bet 90% of your opponents would not expect that. And in this position, actually, black is supposed to be better, but after knight takes and rook takes, we can see the true advantages of black's position. Look at the development lead. Black has 4 pieces developed, with the queen with easy access and the other rook possibly coming to e8. And all the pieces are pressuring the light squares in the center, pressuring this knight, and there's pretty much no way to defend here. After bishop e3, something like d5, or even rook e8, whatever you want to do, artificially castle black is supposed to be preferred here, and all our pieces are amazing. So that's a common trap. What the best move would be a3, but then after takes. This position is supposed to be roundabout as close to even as black can usually get, within the realm of plus 0.3 to plus 0.5. And black can look forward to d4 ideas with castling and playing a classic IQP. So that's basically the main line of this line. But now we're going to look at basically all the side Sicilians that black can play against all of white's options. So one of the options that you probably won't see a lot is c3. This is called the Delayed Alpine. And if you have a weapon against Alpine, you can just use it here. Just play d5. And after e takes, you can either take this way, going for an IQP after d4. This pawn's going to be taken. Or you can go for queen, take for the queen. And here, white is pretty much going to have an IQP after you take. And whether you like playing with it or playing against it, that'll decide your decision here. They also have a tricky move, knight c6, and knight c3, but here we can keep the flexible and play knight c6. And white really doesn't have any good options. They can play bishop b5, but after knight ge7, here black should be roundabout even. Just make sure you don't get your pawns doubled. And after d4, we're just going to be transposing back into the exact same line after knight f6. Now d3 is also common, and the setup you have to remember here is that we're going to go everything towards the d4 square with all of our pieces, because white hasn't played d4 and they haven't played c3 preparing d4, so we must punish them for that. So here you should do knight c6, g3, g6, and as you can see by the following arrows, this is the plan that we're going to go for. It might look like this, for example, and then we're going to go for this. And yeah, I just played the most natural moves for black, and already we have 100 games in the database. So this seemingly is the best plan, and here black is pretty much already equal and has a very comfortable position. You can look forward to ideas of expanding on the queen side. Next, looking at c4. Again, all of this knowledge is not really necessary. All you need to remember is the first stuff, the first few things, and you are golden. The rest should come naturally from there. So next, with the c4 line, what you're going to go is go knight c6, eyeing this d4 square. And if they play d4, they're kind of overextended after this, and black should be winning there. But if they play knight c3, which is the main line, here we're going to stop their chances. The problem if we go g6 is they can play d4 because they're not wasting a full move. After d4 takes, white would be completely winning here. But instead of that, we're going to play knight d4 exclam, the only move I believe that fully equalizes against the Kramnik variation, and it's pretty much why the Kramnik variation is not even playable anymore. So yeah, after this, white really has no good options. After takes here, black is better after e5 because they control more of the center. And after d3, knight e7, they allow us to get our perfect setup, except even white has committed to c4, so they have nothing guarding the d4 square, and here black is significantly better as well. So that's the end of today's video, guys. If you liked the video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe. And I'm just going to briefly go over the most important things to remember. The most important thing about this entire video that you absolutely have to remember is that after knight f6, bishop e3, bishop b4, with all these ideas to play d5, to play queen a5, to take on e4, to castle kingside, to get a huge lead in development, to play after knight d5, to play king e7 in some positions. This is the most important line in this variation, and one that I believe beginners, you are going to get 90% of the time. That's the end of today's video, guys. I will see you in the next one.